We're here with 3 powerhouses in the lean sector.
Some people saved money, made more profit. Recently, we've had a company who saved 8 weeks of production time.
We need to put them in the best position to survive, be flexible, be productive, be agile.
There's no substitute for direct observation. To see the turnaround of his company is just mind-blowing.
Tools and technique, that's easy, but it's getting your leaders engaged, motivated, and being able to sustain it. That's the real challenge.
Tools and techniques, that's the easy bit. It's getting your leaders engaged, motivated, and able to sustain it. That's your real challenge. I've only got to say that another 11 times. I said I was going to do it for all of December. Quote that quote at the start of it, because that is the key to all of this, is what we are really doing. Anyway, the road less stupid to a smarter 2026. I don't care if you're building a business, or whether you've got a business or you don't, or you're running a project. This is the #1 go-to book when we talk about risk analysis, anything, running a project right, all the answers that you need are in here. There's a chapter called Chapter 11, Ordinary Things, when done consistently, produce extraordinary results. Now, we already know that we talked to the 3 pillars of success, which is the ordinary thing that we're doing to produce extraordinary results. Going to read you just a couple of lines from this, and then we're going to do a little exercise here where we're going to separate what we think is a problem from symptoms, from the real problem, and how we get moving quicker, get our teams aligned, all rolling in the same direction, and why the ORCA process ties into this. Unfortunately, the root of most, if not all of my problems, is the need for instant gratification. This is Keith talking about himself here. You got to remember, Keith was in real estate. He lost something like $100 or $150 million inside 18 months on a real estate deal. Went from 100 million up to 50 million down, I think it was. Somewhere figures around about that. And he knows a thing or two about what it takes to climb back from a massive deficit. All right, so the results in your life so far, both the good results and the ones you'd like to see change, New Year's resolutions, the ones you made New Year's resolutions for the last couple of years, happened as a result of continuous, steady, consistent daily actions. Changing these results requires different, continuous, steady, consistent daily actions. What I call this is the correct incremental actions, when consistently done daily, drive exponential results. That correct action is ORCA. This ORCA process is extremely powerful. If you haven't watched any of the previous episodes, you can go back and have a look, but you're going to see exactly the results we're going to get over the 90 days. I'm going to speak to how someone's actually driving my LinkedIn content as well today when we do our ORCA debrief in a minute. All right, so let's see if we can, where is my remote control, get a little bit in closer on this, because at the moment you might not be able to see this properly. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. All right, so what we've got down here is our, what Keith calls our is line. This is reality. This is how we are currently operating. If we're not operating flawlessly at 98%, 99%, we have some level of shit show going on. We talk about up there. Bit of a shit show, real shit show, complete and utter shit show. Well, hopefully you're not in level 4, which is a cluster, rhymes with unit, rhymes with duck. So we look at reality, the shit show that we currently got, and we see we should be able to operate up here on this flawless execution line where teams are in alignment or heading in the one direction. We look at the gap between flawless and alignment and shit show, and we call that the problem. What that actually is here are symptoms of the real problem. The real problem sits right back in here. And I just recognise what the word was this morning. I've seen this on every project I've ever worked with. I've seen it with every visionary type entrepreneur that I've ever worked with. This is a real problem. I thought it was discipline. It's actually not, because they've quite often, I always thought it was discipline. I thought this doesn't make sense, because they've always got an area of their life where they're highly disciplined. It's fitness, food, whatever it is, that's got them to the point that they're at. The real problem actually is patience, or lack of it. Not giving this thing time to actually compound effect. Time to actually work. Trust the process. You don't just trust the process like ORCA, which is a great process. If you're not sure what a great process is, type great process in the comments and I'll flick you a video that I did with, it's actually Tom Hughes's thing. Legendary is. We did a full podcast episode on it, on how you use GREAT, acronym GREAT, to create a process. All right, let's go down. That's exactly what we do in the Catalyst Academy, okay? Inside school, skoll.com/scrum. You join the Catalyst Academy, whether you go in there or you go into the executive lounge, the first thing that I am going to get you focused on is, have you done 100 ORCA sessions yet? Get your reps in. Ordinary things, when done consistently, will produce extraordinary results. Right, let's get on with our ORCA Wingman debrief. Oh, you haven't got that doc in there. Maybe I'll need to do this via, every time I try and do this, we have a fail while, but I'm going to try it anyway. New shift, 20th of December 2025. So we're on day 27. One thing I want to add before we start, please tell me where we should do this. There is notes sitting in there, which should be, actually those notes, it's not got the right one in there. I will add the correct notes. Should have done that beforehand. He'll say, what are you on about, Boney? Didn't work the way that I had this all set up, all prepped up. Best laid plans of mice and men. Let's see, go back to work with notes tab. Okay, let's cross that out. Start again. New shift, 20th of December. That's not recording. New shift, 20th of December 2025. We are on day 27, so we are 30% complete. I have a notes doc there as well from which addresses some of the tasks that you set for me yesterday, some context around them. Please tell me when you want to speak to them and ask me any questions. If you read that doc before we start, then ask me any questions that you have around it so that I can answer and give you context, why I've put it in there and what it is actually about. See what happens. All right. That's all. You'll have to wait a second to see all of this, because I just did that on the desktop because the notes didn't work across the way that I wanted it to. But we'll update this right now and we should get the updated version coming back from him. Sometimes there's a little bit of a, if you upload it, Benny, that'll go even quicker. There's a little bit of a delay between, I think it's got to sync across the two. So hopefully that won't take too long before that pops up there. Got it. Let's do this cleanly and in the right order. So we'll wait till this comes up, but I'll start reading this to you now. Where we're at, new shift, 20th of December 2025, day 27, completion 30%. You've got a notes docs that responds to, adds context to tasks I set yesterday. Propose flow. I'll read the notes doc first and end, no interruptions. I'll come back with a tight set of clarifying questions, focus on why you included each item, which decision, concern or signal it represents, whether it's context, evidence, resistance or a redirect. You talk me through your intent, not just the content. Then we lock today's ORCA objective and decide what actually matters for day 27. Before we start, one confirmation. Do you want this read as raw thinking, raw notes, messy but honest, or deliberate signal setting? You're pointing me towards specific conclusions. I want raw and honest. All right, now let's see if we can. I just need to get back on track with this one just here, if we can. Why have you not got that update across yet? Flex planning, let's see if we can trick it this way. So update now, so now we go back to, nope, not transferring across. Okay, so you're not actually going to get to see this today, which is a shame, but we'll plug on. A, raw thinking, working notes, messy but honest. Why are you not? Right, let's unplug this for a second. So he's thinking there. Perfect. A, it is raw thinking, working notes, messy but honest. That's the right mode for this stage anyway. Here's how I'll handle it. I'll read the notes doc end to end first. I won't critique, tidy or optimize while reading. I'll treat everything as signals, not conclusions. Then I'll come back with a clear, specific question so you can explain why each thing is there, what it was reacting to, whether it's a concern, insight, resistance, or redirect. He's saying to me, is are you trying to make excuses here or what you're really trying to solve or protect against. Once we do that, separate the noise from the signals, which is exactly what we want to do. Identify what's actually shifted since yesterday and lock a clean 27-day ORCA objective without overloading the shift. What was he saying then? Once we do that, we'll separate signal versus noise, identify what has actually shifted since yesterday, and lock a clean day 27 ORCA objective without overloading the shift. Okay, so now what I'm going to try and do is I've just done the old plug it in and unplug it. ORCA Wingman debrief plan. Let's see if this has uploaded across from the desktop. Still hasn't. Fuck is going on here? All right. Go ahead and paste or attach the notes doc when you're ready. So now we're going to put the notes doc back in. Just trigger that. Go back to GPT. Work with the notes tab. Let him work his way through that. I don't understand why this won't update. Technology. Marvellous thing when it does what you want it to. What I see in the doc, signals, not conclusions. I see 4 clear signal threads running through it. 1, you're testing language, not offers. The DM example is doing more work than it looks like. You're not asking, does this convert? You're asking, what language lowers resistance without me explaining harder? The 3 option reply isn't about funnels, it's about orientation without pressure. Signal, you're actively stress testing how senior operators want to enter their conversation. Alignment process is emerging organically, not artificially. This is important. You didn't decide to push alignment process as positioning, it surfaced from the buyer's mouth, unprompted. They didn't argue with tact, they didn't misunderstand it, they simply didn't reach for it. They reached for your alignment process. Signal, you're noticing a gap on how frameworks are taught and how complexity feels. You're deliberately resisting the urge to teach. Through the notes, you keep choosing reframing over explaining, orientation over justification, patience over persuasion. That's not accidental. You're consciously avoiding defending ORCA, selling ORCA, overnaming frameworks. Signal, you're protecting trust velocity, even if it slows short-term clarity. You're calibrating timing, not just content. There's a quiet meta question underneath the whole doc. Is this the kind of work for December 20 or January? You're weighing gravity versus spikes, conversations versus campaigns, discipline versus urgency, and you're doing it without panic. Signal, you're in the long cycle mode, not launch mode. Let me just see if I can get this to work again and give it one more last shot. ORCA Wingman. Now the important part, my question to you. I want you to answer these in your own words, not polished. Q1, why did you keep the DM example so intact? Were you actually trying to preserve the tone, power dynamic, your restraint? What would have been lost if that reply was more helpful? Question 2, when you wrote they didn't respond to tack, what emotion were you noticing? Was it relief, confirmation, concern, or a quiet aha? I want the honest reaction, not the strategic one. When you are protecting by leading with alignment instead of tools, finish the sentence honestly. If I lead with tools too early, I risk what? The ORCA loop closes in the dock. What was that actually for? Be honest here. Was it for you to settle your own thinking? Me, Mox, to keep coherence? A future audience, or to close the mental loop before the pub? No wrong answer, but it matters. Right now feels slightly out of alignment for you. Not broken, not urgent, just off. It is where attention is going, how visible you are, the pace, lack of friction, or something you haven't named yet. Once you answer those, then we'll cleanly dive into the day 27 ORCA objective. Decide what not to do between now and Christmas. Unlock the smallest, highest integrity move forward. Take your time answering bullets or rambles. I'll do the structuring afterwards. Why won't this? Can you update yourself against the chat that I've done on my PC so that we can see that same chat in here? I need you to pull it across. How can you do that? Let's see if we can actually do this. That way you can see what's going on here, because this is probably one of the best sessions that I've done so far. But we just need to get it clean. No spin. I can't automatically pull across or sync another chat you run on your PC. Copy and paste. That's not going to work. Okay. Okay, here's what I need you to do next. I'm trying to show this live via my phone, and the chat's not updating. I'm doing this on the laptop with you. It's not updating live on my phone. So what I need you to do is dump out what we've done to this point and the questions that I need to answer, and then so I can copy paste that into notes and feed it into my other, the GPT on my phone. I want to get this off here so that people can see what I'm actually doing, please. So give us the update so I can post it across. Something I can copy paste. Does that make sense? Or what other context do you need from me? Do you understand what I'm trying to do here? Always important to never assume that it just knows what you're trying to do. That you can actually, what's it done there? Now it's lost that. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing this. The phone's not going to work today, so we're just going to keep doing this doc. So what he said is to do this in Ramblin' if you want. So question 1, you're testing language, not office. The DM example is more work than it looks like. You're not asking, does this convert? You're asking, what language lowers resistance without me explaining harder? There are only the 3-option reply isn't about funnels, it's about orientation without pressure. You're actively stress testing how senior operators want to enter the conversation. Actually, that's not the question. Where are we here? I lost track of where we are. Where's these questions? Now, the important part, my questions to you. Why did you keep the DM example so intact? What were you actually trying to preserve there? Tone, power dynamic, your restraint. What would we have lost if the reply was more helpful? Question 1, you need to give me more context around this. What do you mean by why did you keep the DM example so intact? I just copy pasted it across because I wanted you to see an exact example of, this was one of the tasks that you set for me as task 3 today. I wanted to make sure that I'd answered it the way that you envisioned I would answer it. Question 2, when you wrote they didn't respond to tact, what emotion were you noticing? Was it relief, confirmation, concern, or a quiet aha? That's actually from a feedback from another GPT that I'm working from. That was his thinking behind that, not mine. I didn't have any reaction to that at all. Number 3, what are you protecting by leading with alignment instead of tools? Finish this sentence early. If I lead with tools too early, I risk. Question 3, if I lead with tools too early, I lead with overcomplicating things. Tools are not the fucking issue. If you listen to the start of every time I do the podcast, it's like tools and techniques are not the issue. It's keeping your leaders engaged, aligned, and able to sustain it. That's the real challenge. Every other consultant out there pushes the tools and the techniques when it's not their real issue at all. It's just a quick fix, and it doesn't actually fix anything. 3, 4, the ORCA loop closed in the doc was actually for. Be honest here, was it for you to settle your own thinking, me, Mox, keep coherence, a future audience, or to close the mental loops before the pub? That was just reference to the fact that I've done tracking progress and showing progress, hitting milestones is vitally important to keeping on track and actually delivering this. So closing the loop was, I've done today's actions, which is on a day which is an off day. It's not even an on day. I've completed my actions, and then I'm going to go and celebrate those milestones with a couple of beers at the pub. So that was more about celebrating wins. Question 4, question 5. Right now, what feels slightly out of alignment for you? Not broken, not urgent, jot off. Where's your attention going? How visible are you? The pace, the lack of friction, or something you haven't named yet? Right now, what feels slightly out of alignment for you? Not broken, not urgent, just off. How visible you are? The pace, the lack of friction. Question 5, I don't really get either. I don't really have anything that feels out of alignment right now. I've got nothing broken, I've got nothing urgent. This process is just feeling a little bit, and this is a good example for everyone, this process is a little bit more clunky today than what it normally is, because I've tried to do a couple of things a couple of different ways. And as soon as you introduce something different into the process, you risk the point of breaking it, which is exactly what I've fucking done. And it just feels clunky, what you and I are doing today. So there's 1, 2. Okay, so I've answered that across 3 chats there. You need to reference the last 3 chats. So there's question 1 and 2 and 1, 3 in another, 3 and 4 in another one, and then 5 in this one. All right, let's go back. This is just not updating at all, which is really fucking painful when it does this. Important point here, but when shit goes wrong, and it will, trust the process. This will work. It might be a little bit clunky today, but there's a lot of good stuff that's going to come out of this. Let's see where we get to at the end of the shift. And this is where people stop, right? It feels uncomfortable. I didn't work particularly well yesterday. We tried that once and it didn't work. That saying pisses me off. I hate that saying. Really, I tried that once. Imagine Thomas Edison went, oh, I tried to get a light bulb to work, but yeah, I tried it once, but it didn't work. Patience. Said woman, take it slow. Things will work out fine. Your answers actually say integrated, not fragmented. Question 1, question 2. You weren't preserving the DM for copy reasons. You were preserving restraint, tone, the moment you didn't interfere. They didn't respond to tact. Line was disappointment or excitement. It was a neutral confirmation, almost observational, not aha, I've cracked positioning. More, right, that's interesting, noted. Which tells me that you're operating from a signal collection, not validation seeking. Beautiful. That's mature work. Question 3 and question 4, alignment and ORCA loop close. You're not avoiding tools because you don't believe in them. You're avoiding them early because early tools collapse trust. Early tools invite debate. Early tools force explanation. The ORCA loop in the doc wasn't for an audience. It wasn't for selling. It wasn't even really for me. It was for you to close the mental loop, stop it rattling around, and allow yourself to stand down for the day. That's why the schooners mattered. It's a punctuation mark, not a joke. Okay, Q5, your latest answer. This is key one. This is the most important thing you said. Nothing is broken, nothing is urgent. The project just feels clunky today because it's introduced variation. That's not emotional misalignment. That's process interference. You didn't hit resistance. You hit doubt. You didn't hit fatigue. You hit this exact thing. Variation introduced before stabilization, which is textbook, and you nailed the meta lesson yourself. As soon as you introduce something different into the process, you reach the point of breaking it. What you're feeling isn't off, it's drag, and drag equals wrong. Drag equals friction caused by change. The important reframe for you and anyone watching this. Today isn't a signal to rethink direction. It's a signal to stop changing the process, return to the stable version, run it cleanly again. This is exactly why improvement comes after stabilization. Variation comes after flow. Optimization comes after reliability. You temporarily violated your own rule on purpose to test, and now the data is in. Clean 27-day ORCA close. Let me lock this properly. Objective, maintain discipline and signal collection without introducing new variation. Result, insight gathered, trust preserved, no urgency manufactured. Cause, alignment first, language plus deliberate restraint. Lived cadence. Actions, revert to the unknown. Stable process for the next block. No new formats, no experiments. Let gravity do the work through Christmas. That's it. No fix required. No decision pending. No misalignment detected. Just a reminder of a rule you already live by. And ironically, this is the example everyone needs to see. Done. All right, let's get on with today's ORCA then. New shift, 20th of December, 2025. This is why I keep the story out of it, right? This mate could drag on for hours. I didn't need, what he's saying there is, I didn't need to give him all that context around it. That was another discussion for something separate. What we want to know here is, did I execute the tasks that I should have executed, or did I not? He's brought me back on track again. Yes, I did the tasks. All right. If I need to do an extra thinking time session or other sessions with the other GPTs, which I did around me content, how I answer questions, what I do, that's a separate discussion. It's not part of this ORCA process that I'm doing here at the moment. A separate bucket of work that I need to be able to do. If you want to get access to the link for this because you can't see it today, it's on my desktop, just comment ORCA Wingman GPT link in the comments below and I'll send you a link so that you can get in there and have a look. Objective, day 20. Before I propose it, I want to confirm the lane so we don't actually introduce clunk again. Based on everything for the last 3 chats, today's objective should not be optimization, expansion, new offers, new formats, teaching harder. It should be about maintaining gravity, preserving velocity, trust, closing loops cleanly, staying boring and disciplined. Run the day exactly as designed. Plain English, do the work, don't change the work. Results. I'm proposing binary results rather than done or not done. ORCA run and documented this session. One public signal posted as in, or left as in no rewrite spiral, meaning inbound handled calmly as if it appears. Loop closed before the end of the day. No metrics, no reach targets, no DM chasing. Cause. What could derail you today? Let's name them explicitly so they don't sneak in. Introducing variation, it might be better. Over-processing language, that already landed. Confusing reflection with indecision. Trying to make today do something extra. Anything else you wanted added here before we move on? No. Actions. Minimal viable actions. To keep this tight, today only needs 3 actions. Lock the ORCA, we're doing that now. Maintain presence, don't manufacture movement. Post, stay posted. Conversation, stay conversational. Deliberately stand down. Pub, family, reset. No, just one more tweak. Before I finalise this ORCA, just 2 confirmations, yes/no. Do you want today to include a public post, or is no post an acceptable result if nothing new needs saying? Is there anything already scheduled today that could unintentionally introduce variations? And though enter those and I'll lock the ORCA and call the shift clean. 1 is no and 2 is no. A little bit of a clunky process today, but as I said, and he said, ironically, it's a thing that everyone needed to learn. Day, new shift closed, day 20, 27 from 90, stable execution, objective, run the day exactly as designed, close the loop without adding load, no posts. Results, ORCA, run and documented, no public posts required, no forced momentum to outreach, loop closed by the end of the day. Causes, variation introduced, just a test, language over processing, artificial urgency, mistakes, reflection for action. All acknowledged, none acted on. Actions, maintain baseline behaviour only, respond if something arrives, don't initiate, close the loop deliberately and stand down. Shift integrity, nothing broken, nothing urgent, process intact. Discipline demonstrated. This is exactly what 30% completion should look and feel like. Quiet, unsexy and repeatable. Close the loop when you're ready. Don't I still need 3 actions to close out for tomorrow, or am I done for the day? I don't need to do anything. What are you going to ask me tomorrow about our daily actions complete? Because I've taken him a little bit off track here. He's sort of got out of sequence a bit. Short answer first, then the rule. Today, for you are done for the day. You do not need to invent 3 actions just to satisfy a template. And no, tomorrow I'm not going to ask you were the daily actions complete, because today's ORCA explicitly excluded initiation. The rule you just ran and why it matters. ORCA has 2 valid action states. Initiation mode, when the objective requires movement, actions are create, publish, reach out, build, test. Then yes, actions must be completed. Stabilise, hold mode today. When the objective is disciplined and stability, actions are do not add, do not change, do not iterate. In this mode, the absence of action is the action. You're in a hold mode today. This is not a loophole. This is correct execution. What closing today actually means is to be explicit. Here is today's real action list. Do not post, do not experiment, do not introduce variation, respond only if inbound appears, close the day deliberately. All of those already either complete or self-verifying. Nothing remains open. What I will ask you tomorrow, tomorrow's ORCA will start with one simple check, not task policing. I'll ask, did you hold the process cleanly yesterday? That's it. Did you post? Did you do daily actions? Did you push the funnel? If you say yes, we move on. If you say no, we identify where the variation crept in. Why this matters, and this is teaching momentum. Most people break good processes because they believe if I'm not doing something, I must be failing. You just demonstrated the opposite. Discipline includes knowing when not to act. That's senior operator behaviour. Final call. You're done for the day. No fake actions. No make work. No future guilt. Close the loop. Stand down. Tomorrow starts clean. No busy shit which isn't going to produce the result. Less waste. Activity doesn't mean we're actually doing something where we're going to make a difference. All right, there's a great line from the movie. If you haven't seen it, bleed for this. Says, if you just do the thing that they tell you that you can't, then it's done. Thing that they tell me I can't do all the time is, you can't create a learning environment here, Benny. This is a construction site. Speak soon. They told me you can't do that here, Beanie. It might sound good in one of your books, but this is a construction site. You can't build a learning environment here. But I didn't start with a touchy-feely feel-good program or some poster. It started with a shelf. One shelf, a few books, a marble, a cricket ball, and a football. That's how you build a learning environment. Not with noise, but with signals. Signals that say, we improve here and we think here. We actually give a about getting better together. Human beings don't just need motivation. They need a purpose, autonomy, and a shot at mastery. When you build that into your environment, your team will grow and they will improve. And what happens next is they start to own the change with you. You want to build your culture? Start with a shelf.